This video is brought to you by a huge mountain of drugs. Raff Capashen ships Mage versus the Dragon, Kambal Consul of Allocation, and Arixmethes Slumbering Isle. We are in a one lander there, so we'll take our free mulligan. Okay, and that is a pretty bad hand, but I don't want to go down a card, and I especially don't want to mulligan into a one lander again, which typically happens on Magic Online, so let's keep that one and keep our fingers crossed as well. And it's another land for us, so I'm actually going to keep the irrigated farmland so that we can cycle it. Let's get out a tap land with the Marsh Flats. That'll switch on our Nimbus Maze so that we can tap for any colours. Oh, and that's pretty good. A Mana Crypt into the Myriad Landscape for the Kambal player. Playing against a bunch of friends of the channel, by the way. It's been a while since we've had a game in which we're not relying on randoms, so the game will actually reach a decent conclusion, I imagine, making a land for the turn as well. We've got Matismen 94 on Arixmethes, the True King 870 ramping ahead with Kambal, and then Bootleg Greedo on the Dragon getting down a Felwar Stone. Okay, Mangara the Diplomat is something we can make use of. Let's... do we name Human or Wizard with Raff? I don't know the deck that well yet. I think we've got quite a few Wizards, but maybe we've got quite a few Humans as well. Anyway, let's go in for the Nimbus Maze, and then we can cycle the irrigated farmland. I'll just do that now. And clear another land off the top. Well, we've got a turn 4 play in our commander, and then we can go in for Mangara after that, so it's pretty slow, but we'll just have to keep our fingers crossed that our opponents don't get too far ahead of us. I think that is wishful thinking. Sure Strike Trident for the Arixmethes player. The equipped creature has first strike, and tap and unattach this. It deals damage equal to its power to a target player or planeswalker. That won't be commander damage with Arixmethes, but it will be 12 damage. And Kambal, Consul of Allocation, coming down on Kambal's turn. Alright, so Kambal, after playing their commander, went for Chalice of Life, immediately gaining themselves some life, and then Cultivate for Greedo. We have the Black Blade Reforged now, which we can cast, so let's get out the Cavern of Souls, and we'll name Human. Then we'll just play the Black Blade Reforged now, just for the sake of doing something. Now that will drain us for 2 on Kambal. Now a Kiora Behemoth Beckoner from the Simic player, ready for untapping big mana permanents like Gilded Lotus and things like that, I imagine. Sure they wouldn't mind untapping their 12/12 either, because it does come into play tapped. Read the Bones now from Kambal. And then, wow, they've got all the good cards here, haven't they? Now a Sangromancer, that will gain them a lot of life. See if they turn their Kambal in sideways. They do at the Kiora. The Dragon now has 5 colours available thanks to the Felwar Stone, but is going for Tempt with Discovery. Are our opponents going to be tempted? Players usually are, but I like to think that our viewers know better than to be tempted by something like a Tempt with Discovery, especially against a Dragons player. We are not going to be tempted, so we'll say no. The only one tempted there was Matismen, the Arixmethes player, with a Thespian Stage. Let's go for Snow-Covered Island. And then we're just holding up our commander at this point. It's definitely 4, isn't it? Yep, 4 mana with Flash and Flying. And the hits just keep on coming from the Orzhov player, Bolas's Citadel now. And then following things up with my Brawl commander, Sorin Vengeful Bloodlord. That gives all their creatures lifelink for even more life gain. They're the only player with creatures in play this game, apparently. Then plussing and draining someone. Not sure who they drain there. Yeah, and the log doesn't tell us either for some reason, so yeah, I'm not sure what the point in a log is then if it doesn't tell us. I think Matismen, I haven't read through all this yet, but I think Matismen passed through his turn by accident, so We'll see what occurs there. Yeah, I think they're bypassing the Kiora just to not punish them for accidentally passing through their turn. So going straight at their face for 2 points of commander damage, leaving the 3/3 Sangromancer back, just in case they see a Haster or a Raff. Chromatic Lantern from the 5 colour player. And then at the end of the turn we will go in for our commander, which can't be countered. And yet another land for us. I think it's time to go for a duel just for the sake of pulling another land out of our library. Statistically, I don't think it makes that much of a difference, but yeah, we'll try our luck anyway. Go for a Tundra. I suppose we could have gone, yeah, should have gone for the shock land in tap there because we're just going to go for Mangara. Let's hold back Raff. Yeah, let's just hold back Raff. I think we've got a common enemy in the Orzhov player, although I am fearful of what the Dragon player is slowly doing over here. Arixmethes, the Slumbering Isle, coming in now. At this point, we're just waiting on the Dragon to join the party. And Kiora is going to be fair game after this turn. Oh, and I'm just getting to reading this now. Apparently, the Tempt card is bugged and they only got 1 land over here. That's a shame because, yeah, Tempt with Discovery is actually a really, really good card. But, yeah, they only got the 1 land there. I was trying to work out which land they had and I think it was the Command Tower. Anyway, good to know that that's a bug on Magic Online. Then Thespian Stage becoming a copy of the Arixmethes. Ah, that's what they were doing. So they're knocking all the counters, like you do with Dark Depths, off of their Arixmethes and then putting it back in the command zone. So the original Arixmethes is now back in the command zone and we have a 12/12 to worry about. We won't take commander damage from that because it is a copy of the commander. But it's still a 12/12. Then some removal comes from the Dragon player with Anguished Unmaking onto the Bolas's Citadel. So card advantage being taken away from the Orzhov player. Another life being gained by the Chalice, and yeah, if you have at least 10 or more life in your starting life total, transform it. So there are a few pieces of life away from turning that into Chalice of Death. And Revenge of Ravens coming down now, so they're going to punish us for attacking into them. Then Sorin is dealing 1 damage to the Kiora. Let's see if they swing in the Sangromancer over there. I'm not going to turn my Raff sideways to get rid of it if they're not going to turn their Sangromancer sideways, but they may well not do that because they don't want to take a hit to Sorin. There's no limit break on that, so it doesn't really matter. And yeah, taking the lifelinker in at Kiora to get rid of her, which should allow us to go in at Sorin with a bit of damage. Oh, Rhythm of the Wild, that's a really good one. Being drained for 2 again by Kambal. But yeah, the last thing we want to see is uncounterable hasty dragons. Luckily, I don't think we've been seen as too much of a threat yet. We haven't done anything particularly interesting, I don't think. A Dragon Broodmother comes into play. At the beginning of each upkeep, they get a red and green dragon with flying and devour 2. And that did come in with haste instead of the plus counter, so let's see. Yep, they turn in at Sorin. So I'm willing to turn the Raff in at Sorin as well. And show my opponents that we do have a common enemy in the Orzhov player. They will get drained with the Revenge of Ravens. And I'm actually going to get Mangara in now as well, because even if the Dragon player does go for another spell, we'll at least draw a card. So we might sneak in a little bit of card draw here. And if it's targeted removal at Mangara, then so be it. Dragon Broodmother starting to get those dragon tokens. It is at the beginning of each upkeep, don't forget. And we get ourselves into a Lightning Greaves. Let's drop the island. We can play Lightning Greaves at flash speed, but we can't equip it at flash speed, so let's go for an equip onto Mangara, because that is more life gain for us. And then I think we just go in for the Lightning Greaves now, and we'll try and protect our Mangara. Everyone's mostly tapped out, so I don't think we're going to see anyone point removal at Mangara. Otherwise I would turn in sideways before going for the Lightning Greaves here. But that manages to stick. So let's take both of these in at Sorin. Argument to be made for us just taking Mangara in at Sorin to encourage them to block with the Kambal. But I don't think they're going to struggle recasting Kambal. Whatever, we'll just get rid of Sorin. Get drained for 2 by Revenge of Ravens. And they block with the Kambal anyway, so they do want to keep their Sorin in play. Mesmerizing Benthid from the Simic player, so I'm guessing this is some kind of sea creatures deck. Yeah, that seems to be the theme they've gone for. Anyway, going to hit... Yeah, they went to hit the Orzhov player for 12 with their copy of their commander. The game is lagging like crazy today, so I'm a little bit behind with what's going on, but yeah, playing the Mesmerizing Benthid was the main thing that happened there. Oh, Cryptghast from the Orzhov player with a bunch of basic swamps in play. And then casting a second spell in Kambal, Consul of Allocation, getting us, wouldn't you know, into another land. Well, it's better in our hand than on top of the library at least. Then the Chalice of Life finally transforming into Chalice of Death. So they'll be able to start having players lose 5 life. And then with 2 cards in hand, they pass the turn at that. So if we can manage to weather the storm from Kambal, it might be that they've run out of juice here. We'll have to see. Meanwhile, the Dragon Broodmother is spitting out babies left, right and centre. And they slam down their Dragon. That is a 10-10. Uncounterable with haste. And going straight in at us. And then the Gruul Dragons look like they're going in. Yeah, the tokens are going in at Arixmethes. And the Broodmother going in straight at the True King's face. So starting to ignore Sorin again. And they got themselves a Smothering Tithe into play, so we've got ourselves a new threat at the table. The Dragon player is going to go off here. I did think about including Imprisoned in the Moon in this deck, although it doesn't necessarily fit. But this is exactly why I wanted something like that. And just when I was thinking of going for Recurring Insight or Sphinx's Revelation next turn, yeah, that's bad timing for us on the Smothering Tithe. Alright, getting ourselves into a mana drain. We're not doing too well on drawing into spells that we can actually cast with Raff, are we? Sphinx's Rev will be able to do for X4. We'll draw 5 cards with Recurring Insight and then even more next turn. Oh, actually, we'll draw 6. But we'll give them a bunch of mana with the Smothering Tithe. The Dragon player's already a massive threat though, so yeah, we won't be able to hold up the mana drain with Recurring Insight either. Yeah, well, let's bypass the Smothering Tithe anyway. We'll throw a Plains into play. Then I think we should swing Mangara in towards the Dragon player. They probably just chump, but we're gaining life at least. That has the Sangromancer trigger because a token died, so they'll gain 3 life over here. And it might be that we have to rely on King to get rid of the Dragon player at this point. I really want to go for Recurring Insight, but the smart play is holding on to both Mana Drain and Sphinx's Revelation. So yeah, I'm going to put the Lightning Greaves onto Raff because it's a flying blocker for the Dragons. If they buff the Dragon by 1 power and swing in at us, we're done for, so we need Raff to survive. Yeah, maybe it's a good idea to put the Black Blade on there as well. And then it can trade with the Dragon. No, we just need to draw some cards at this point because we're not doing very well this game, to be honest. Scourge of Fleets now. And when it enters, return each creature your opponents control with toughness X or less to the hand, where X is the number of islands you control. That is only 3, unfortunately. It will return our Raff and all these tokens, this stuff here. Yeah. Alright, well, we can play Raff at instant speed at least, so let's allow that. We'll see where the Dragon comes in. And I would just lay damage on the Dragon player at this point. But instead going in for Sorin with the 4-5, so getting rid of the Planeswalker. 4 hits from this, and the Dragon player is down though. Cryptghast coming down again to allow them to refill their board. Then Kambal, which will allow us to draw a card with Mangara. And we get into a Fact or Fiction, which... yeah, I'm not gonna play Fact or Fiction, I wouldn't have thought. We'll go for our Raff. Ajani's Pridemate coming in now. That will get very big over the course of the game for the Orzhov player, because they're not struggling on gaining life at 56, and they've taken a few big hits this game. Then in for the Sangromancer again. Mangara only triggers once during an opponent's turn. I'm allowing the Kambal player to do everything they want to do because I'm hoping that they're going to take out the Dragon player for us. And then having us lose 5 life. Okay, that's surprising. Probably just because of the Mangara. They don't seem to be all that worried about the Dragon player for some reason. Okay. Teamer Ascendancy from the Dragon player now, giving their creatures haste and some more card draw as well for them. So they've got all the ramp in the world, all their colours, uncounterable, haste. I mean, they've got pretty much everything they want at this point. Then a second spell coming down. This is uncounterable, and it's a Hasty Drakuseth. Excellent. We'll draw another card, but we might be using our commander as a chump blocker here. So I think at this point we might as well pay for the Smothering Tithe, because all we're going to be doing is going for Raff. Now let's see where these dragons go. I'm concerned about the Dragon more than anything. We've got the 4/4 in at us. Some tokens going into the left. The Dragon going in over the top of the Orzhov player, although they can block with the Sangromancer if they want to. And the Drakuseth is going over here as well. They'll be able to throw some damage around. Don't think they can get rid of Mangara. Yeah, that's got 11 toughness at the moment. Anyway, the Dragon player getting drained for 1 again, putting a plus counter on the Pride Mage. It's 3 damage there, 4 damage there, and then 3 directly to King, I think it is. So dealing with their board nicely off of the back of a Drakuseth. Maybe the life game player will start pointing the Chalice of Death at the Dragon's player now. Now let's see what permanent they manage to get into play. They go up to 9 cards and they've got themselves into a Gilded Lotus. We're just going to take the hit here. And I'm just thinking now actually, with the Sword of Feast and Famine, we could have played that on this turn, couldn't we? Yeah, I think that's a mistake on my part. Probably shouldn't have paid for the Tithe. We could have gone Raff into the Sword of Feast and Famine, then equipped it next turn, swung in at Greedo with a creature with lifelink and protection from black and green, although they could have chumped with this by the looks of it, so yeah, perhaps not being punished then. Although we could always put it on Raff, couldn't we? Alright, well, we'll see if the Dragon player has any removal, because we'll get down our Raff. Then at the cleanup step, they get rid of a Stomping Ground. Yeah, regretting not getting the Sword of Feast and Famine into play last turn when we could have done. Alright, we'll just go for the Adarka Wastes. I think we just have to try and keep our life total up with Mangara. We could have protection from these dragons. We don't have protection from that, unfortunately. Yeah, we'll just go for the Sword of Feast and Famine now. And hopefully we can equip that, swing in, untap all our lands and do some more stuff. So I'm going to put that on Mangara for the sake of gaining as much life as possible. Oh, actually, we need to be able to get through with it, don't we? And yeah, forgot about the mono red creature. Okay, wasting even more mana. So in that case, we'll go for that onto our commander instead. And then we'll sneak the Lightning Greaves over there. I don't think the Dragon player has any removal. And then it's an attack on the Dragon player. And an attack. Or do we just hold back Mangara? As much as I want to gain life, I think we have to hold that back. So let's just go in with Raff. And we'll deal 5 to Greedo. Yeah, so getting an extra chance there, thanks to the Sword of Feast and Famine, allowing us to untap. And we'll force them to discard a card as well. They go down to 9 life. And then I think a clever thing to do would be to go for the sword onto Mangara while we've got the chance to do that. And we'll put the Greaves on there as well, because we can always play Raff again at instant speed. I'd rather not do that, but there's every chance that we have the sea monsters coming in towards us. And then we're just holding up Sphinx's Rev, Fact or Fiction, and the Mana Drain, I think. Yeah, so it's probably Fact or Fiction and Mana Drain. Yeah, just thinking about it, I don't know what King's perspective on the board state is at the moment. I don't know who they're more frightened of. I would think you'd have to be scared of the dragon player, surely, and just thinking if they'd pointed the 5 damage at them instead of us, then they could take care of them next turn, because they'd be down to 4 at this point. But obviously that's hindsight for you. Curator's Ward going on to the copy of Arixmethes. Yeah, we'll allow it. And then a second spell being cast, so our 12-4 Mangara is going to draw us a card. They played an Overwhelming Stampede, by the way, which is +12/+12 on all of their creatures. Yeah, I'm going to have to ask them where they're swinging with that. I'm having to minimise the window here because the client's being really weird and yeah, anyway, just one coming in at us, says Matisman, but I'd like to know which one is coming in at us, because if it's 18 damage, then I'm not sure I like the idea of being knocked down to about, I think it's 9. Okay, so Matisman doesn't seem to want to tell us, so we'll just go for the counter. I was hoping that we'd get rid of a player there, but we'll just have to go for the counter instead. If he was being straightforward with us there and we were just going to take a hit here, we could have blocked with that and even gained some life, but yeah, I don't like the idea of getting knocked down to around 10. So just felt as though I had to counter that there. Like I said, could have blocked with Mangara, but we might have lost the Mangara depending on what swung in at us. We did get into Enafara though. Unfortunately, we don't have the Devotion due to our poor draws. Yeah, we didn't get into enough Devotion to make Mangara indestructible, and plus it's flyers we have to worry about anyway. Any one of us could very well be taken out next turn by the dragons. Sanguine Bond. Yeah, there's nothing we can do about a Sanguine Bond. So we'll just have to let that hit play. I don't think there's any kind of combo our opponent can go for at this point. But they might have one in hand. And then going in for the Kambal again. That is Mangara drawing us a card. We get into Teferi's Ageless Insight. Yeah, which is tempting with more mana, but we just haven't gotten into the rocks either. We've drawn into everything in the wrong order. We want our legendary and, well, our historic stuff. And then we want these big card draw spells in the late game, really. Anyway, pointing the Sanguine Bond at Greedo, knocking them down to 4, and then they can get rid of them with this if they want to. Now, I don't know if King is going to hold up the Chalice of Death against the Dragons player to try and encourage them to take care of us and keep themselves in play. But yeah, anyway, seemingly giving the Dragons player another turn. Lathless Dragon Queen coming down for the Dragon player now for even more Dragon tokens. And that will draw them a card with the Ascendancy. Oh, and then a Nev's Disc. So if the Dragon player doesn't take us out this turn, which I think they're going to because they're probably scared of the Sword of Feast and Famine, we get to go for Nev's Disc at the end of this turn and wipe everything on our turn. Anyway, Hellkite Tyrant coming down now. I don't think we're going to live to see another turn though. Okay, but they're not allowing the Dragon player to get rid of the two of us. Yeah, which I'm actually grateful for. Anyway, using the Chalice of Death to get rid of Greedo. And that is the biggest threat of the game down, I think. So what do we want to do at the end of the turn? I don't think we particularly care about a Nev's Disc anymore. So I think we just get down Ifara for the sake of actually getting down a creature. Only the third one of the game for us. And hopefully we'll actually manage to get into another creature, or at least some more devotion of some kind. We do get 5 colourless mana at least. Let's drop... There's no problem lands, is there? No, let's drop an island. We'll go for the main phase, Fact or Fiction. Because if we can get a permanent that's actually relevant into play this turn, that'd be really good. Or at least hold it up to do it during our opponent's turn. Yep, Sanguine Bond, Ajani's Primate. And we did get drained by the commander, of course. Sanguine Bond getting pointed at us. I'm not going to put an auto stop on that just in case. We will go after Matismen. And we'll see what cards they want to give us with the Fact or Fiction. A Khan's Temporal Sundering, alright, and Azami. Now we're getting into some stuff. Do we take Azami and Teferi's Ageless Insight to just draw a bunch of cards finally? Yeah, I think as much as I want to go for Khan's Temporal Sundering, I think we go for that. We can untap this turn with our lands, don't forget. So we'll play out Azami. And she is a human, so this is uncounterable. And then we're 1 mana shy of going for the Ageless Insight now, so let's go for Mirrodin Besieged. And that's another 2 life drain for us. And the Sanguine Bomb being pointed at us again, we go for Mirren here, I think. Yeah, whenever we cast an artifact, we get a Mir token. Yeah, the game's lagging like crazy now, that's why my clock's so far behind. We'll have to... Yeah, we'll just have to put it on Raff, because we definitely want to get the damage through. It's 1 less wizard to tap down with Azami, unfortunately, but we would much rather. So this is an 11-13, so we can still swing in and gain some life, because no one's going to swing in at us. Yeah, let's just gain the life while we can. We'll get drained for a nice chunk here, thanks to Revenge of Ravens and Sanguine Bond. Yeah, the Ajani's Primate actually doesn't have enough power, so... Yeah, they're just blocking the Mangara with that, and neither of them kill each other. We just gain 11 life here. So turns out it was the correct decision. Sword of Feast and Famine causes them to discard 1 of their 2 cards that are in hand. And then I think we put the Greaves onto Ifara. It'll be 4 for Nev's Disc, 4 for the Teferi's Ageless Insight. Maybe we tap out for Sphinx's Rev, so I'm not going to bother moving any equipments around. We can get a Mir into play with Nev's Disc, so yeah, let's just leave it like that. And we did have a creature enter last turn, so the Ifara is going to have us draw a card here. Let's just quickly get down the Ageless Insight. And this way we'll actually draw 2 cards. We'll also get drained by Kambal, which means we're probably going to take 4 damage thanks to Sanguine Bond. And again, it is pointed at us. They discarded Animate Dead to the sword, by the way. The client is lagging so much that... there you go, see? That I forgot to check the graveyard before. And then we draw a couple of cards. With Ifara, we get Psymaster Thopterist as well. That's good. So we can start littering the board with artifact tokens. We'll still have to worry about... Yeah, we'll have to worry about blocks from the green player, because obviously they'll have Trample and Overwhelming Stampedes and things like that. But it'd be really good to get out a Psymaster Thopterist into a Thought Vessel, I think. Equipping the Sure Strike Trident onto the 12-12. So I think we're definitely having to look at a Nev's Disc at this point. And deciding to not swing in. I imagine the Trident gets thrown straight at us. Alright, Aetherflux Reservoir. That is... Yeah, that's a way of taking us out at this point. Whether they actually want to do that or not is another question, because they will go down to 3 or, well, somewhere below 10 life, whatever life total they end up at by the end of this turn. Well, I don't think we're longed for this world. I think this is coming in at us. That'll be 12 damage. There's 5 here. If we play a non-creature spell, that'll be 4, thanks to Sanguine Bond and Stop Lagging. Yeah, what I was saying was, we'll take more damage to Sanguine Bond with Kambal, so... Yeah, I don't think we're longed for this world, but we'll see. Oh, they've actually gone for the unattached now. Oh, and surprisingly, gone for 12 damage over here. Alright, that's fine with me. Now, we don't actually have that much counter magic in the deck, because I don't really like counter tribal if I can help it. But maybe we can draw into something for that Aetherflux Reservoir. I think we should tap down the Azami and gain a couple of cards into hand. And we'll draw a couple of cards here thanks to the enchantment. So if they get themselves up to 50 life again, they'll be able to activate that, obviously. That's something that we have to keep a very, very close eye on. Now going for Felidar Sovereign. That's at the beginning of the upkeep, so... yeah. Now starting to aim the Sanguine Bond over at the Simic player. And they've got no cards in hand now. Also aiming Chalice of Death over here. So, yeah, I'm just wanting them to use all their resources, which I think they have at this point. Before we go for that Crush Contraband, we're drawing cards with the Mangara as well. Drew 2 from that. And there is Urza's Ruinous Blast, which I don't think we need to do. No, maybe we could do that. Yeah, that might be an idea, actually. We'll let the Felidar Sovereign land first. Sanguine Bond continuing to be pointed over at the Simic player, so I think we go for Urza's Ruinous Blast, and then we take care of them next turn. Like I said, we'll get the Felidar Sovereign into play first. Might be that the Ruinous Blast gets countered. There is blue mana held up over here. And there's even combat to consider yet. I wouldn't have thought they'd tap out their Ajani's Pridemate. Thankfully, that doesn't have lifelink. Okay, so getting towards the end step, let's have a quick look at the board. The only legendary here is the copy of Arixmethes. I don't think they've replayed their commander again this game. Kambal will stick around over here. None of their other stuff is legendary. Then we'll keep most of our stuff. We'll lose the Sword, the Greaves, the Mirrodin Besieged. Yeah, I think we have to attempt this. And that will drain us for 2. Sanguine Bond will get pointed at us, I imagine. Nope, that gets pointed at the Simic player. Alright, that manages to land, so that gets rid of a bunch of stuff. We can start our turn with a huge advantage over our opponents. And we get into Solemn Simulacrum. Let's just drop. Yeah, I don't think it matters. We'll just get down an island. And then I'm going to turn the Mangara in at the Simic player and hope that they don't have bounce. Really hope they don't have bounce. Then we'll roll in Ifara that way as well. Actually, it doesn't really matter, does it, at this point? Let's just roll in Ifara at the Orzhov player. If Mangara gets taken out, this player doesn't go down anyway. Alright, looks like they didn't have anything, so I managed to take them down. We jump up to 26. Let's just play some creatures quickly so that we don't have to discard to hand size. We'll go for Master Thopterist. Get down a Thought Vessel, which will get us a couple of artifact tokens. Yeah, end up with the Thopter. Oh, and of course the Mirrodin Besieged got blown up, so we don't get a couple of tokens, just the one. Yeah, I think we're okay discarding, actually. Let's just get on with the game. We've held up our opponents enough. Ifara will draw us a couple of cards because a creature entered last turn. We actually don't have to discard down to hand size thanks to the Thought Vessel. Forgot about that as well. Now it's time to see if our opponent has a board wipe, because like I said, we are pretty lacking on counter spells in this deck, but they just get themselves into Arcane Signet, so it looks like it's ours for the taking. Let's get ourselves into a Wormcoil Engine. Make another Thopter token. Draw a couple of cards with Azami and with Raff, just to make sure that we absolutely seal the deal. Kambal might get a really good top deck somehow. Okay, well we've got Snapcaster Mage there to get the mana drain back, so I'm feeling pretty good about us having this one now. It'll take us a couple of turns still because, yeah, King does have quite a bit of life left. Maybe we go for commander damage with our Raff at this point. Draw a couple of cards with Ifara thanks to the Wormcoil Engine coming in. And there's a Meteor Golem. So we could get Kambal out of the way, and that might be enough to seal it. Let's get the Reliquary Tower down in case the Thought Vessel is dealt with. Big shout out to my opponents for playing this out. We've been massively behind on the clock thanks to the client lagging for us. So I'm trying to end it as quickly as possible. We'll go for the Meteor Golem. Get Kambal out of the way. Don't have the Lightning Greaves anymore, unfortunately, because it's not legendary. And then we'll turn everything in sideways, apart from you, Azami. I don't know if this is enough to deal with them. Not quite, unfortunately, knocking our opponent down to 12, so they've got another chance of a top deck. We'll just hold on to Snap Mage and Mana Drain. Drawing again with Ifara. Now we've got the Teferi's Protection. Ifara and Teferi's Ageless Insight are going very, very well together. But I don't think our opponent can do anything at this point. Oh, and there you go. That's why you play it out. Exile all creatures. Merciless Eviction straight off the top. Unfortunately for our opponent, we've just drawn into too many cards. So let's go for the Snap Mage into the Mana Drain. Yeah, our opponent may well have been able to buy themselves enough time to get back into it there if it wasn't for the fact that they were playing against your typical obnoxious blue deck. So we obviously got a Mana Drain onto Merciless Eviction. That will be the game for us next turn, I think. We draw some more cards with Ifara thanks to the Snap Mage. And what do we get out of curiosity? Generous Gift and a Thran Dynamo. Let's just not waste any more of our opponent's time. We will turn everything in sideways at them. And there we are, managing to squeak out a victory there. I think the main reason we managed to win that one, even with such bad draws in the early game and such an appalling opening hand, I think the main reason we managed to stay in it was one, because the dragon player looked so threatening. Kambal looked really threatening. We just managed to kind of stick around long enough with Mangara, with not only the card draw but the life gain as well. I think Black Blade and Mangara really kept us in that one. And I don't know if I have the Shadow Spear. I should probably have that in here if I don't, because life gain can add turns to your total game. But yeah, like I said, really dragging on the client there, so I have to mess around with some settings. Big thank you to my opponents for playing it out. No way we would have been able to get a game like this with randoms on Magic Online. So if you want to join a group of people that are willing to get games in and stick them out, just an all-round good group of players, then you can jump on the Discord. Link is in the description. Anyone can join that. And I hope that you all enjoyed the game. I'm tribalkai on the EDH channel. Thank you for watching.